Today we're going to be installing this Powerflow air intake system from Injen Technologies on a 2012 F-150. These here are your adapters, your new filter system, your new air box, and the new tubing that you'll need to hook it all together. Okay, the first step of the process is to get this factory intake system out of here so that we can make room for our new air intake system from Injen. Okay, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and unhook our air intake sensor. Just push down on this lever right here and gently pull it out. And then on this, we have to take a screwdriver and just pry it up off of there. And then just set it over out of the way so that we don't damage that connector. And then we'll go ahead and take these clamps loose. And then after we get the clamp loose, we'll go ahead and pull the tube off of the box. And then just to make it a little bit easier, we'll go ahead and remove the lid from the box. Once that's loose, go ahead and rock this and gently pull on it and pull it loose out of there. And you can take those parts and set them to the side. Okay, the next step is to go ahead and remove this bolt, but it's very important that we don't lose this bolt because this bolt is required to put the new air box in for our new air intake system. Okay, the next step will be to go ahead and put our air box cover together. What we're going to need to do is take this coupler and we're going to attach it to the air box so that it's ready to accept our air cleaner. This kit comes with 4 internal wrenching screws. Those are the ones that we use for this. Now that they're all started, we'll go ahead and snug those down using a number 5 hex-headed socket. Then we'll take these rubber strips and we'll go ahead and attach these to the edges. Now as you can see here, this one goes along the same edge as our locking tabs. So we make sure we put that there. And this other one, if you just lean it forward, goes along this edge on this side. All right, now that we've got this put together, our next step is to go ahead and take our new air filter and attach it in here. And once that's securely in place, we'll go ahead and tighten up the clamp to hold it so it doesn't fall back off while we're installing it into the vehicle. Now we have our air box all put together and pretty much ready to install into our truck. Now that we've got our air box together and out of the way, the next thing we need to do is go ahead and take our air intake sensor off of this old cover and install it onto our new tube. Now as you can see, these are all plastic and the tip of this sensor is also plastic. So it's very important that when you're pulling this up out of this old air box cover that you don't rock it back and forth too harshly because it will snap that off. And these folks are not cheap. Okay, the next step is to go ahead and take our air sensor and install it into the slot on the new tubing. But as you can see, if you look at this sensor, there's a rubber O-ring on here. Now what I usually do is I'll take some type of lubricant and go ahead and put a little lube on this to help it to slide into that hole better so we don't end up snapping this off or cracking this housing. And then take the bolt that's provided with the kit, go ahead and put it in here, and then using a 10mm socket or a wrench, and go ahead and snug that down. Now once again, it's essential not to over tighten this because it will crack the plastic. Okay, now we'll go ahead and install our air box cover into our truck. Okay, that bolt that I told you to save earlier, we're going to use that. We're going to put it right back in where we got it from to hold this new cover in place. Okay, and then using the factory snaps, we'll go ahead and lock this cover down. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, those snaps were a little snug to go on there. Don't get too concerned about that because we want to have a good tight fit to keep this securely in place so it's not rattling around under your hood. Okay, the next step of our process is to go ahead and attach these couplers. The first one we're going to attach is this one, which attaches down here on the bottom tube, which is our turbo tube. Now if you look at this one, you can see this one has the bump out in it. Make sure we get the right one on the turbo tube. So we'll go ahead and put this on. Okay, now when attaching these couplers, what I like to do is go ahead and use a socket and a ratchet on these instead of a screwdriver, because you want to get these pretty snug because we don't want to have air seeping in around our seals. Okay, next we'll go ahead and attach this one to our air box. Now what we want to do is make sure that we leave about half this space on the inside for when we attach our new intake tube on here, that we've got something to clamp down onto. Okay, the next step is to go ahead and put our last coupler onto our air pipe. And these are designed to stretch just a little bit so that you can stretch them over the tube. Okay, and then the same as on the other end, make sure you leave enough space on the end of this that your pipe will clamp down. And then we'll go ahead and put one of our clamps on. And it's the same as on the other ones, we want to make sure we get these pretty snug, because with this vehicle having turbo on it, we don't want to be losing vacuum around these couplers, because that will reduce our boost and create a boost leak on our turbo. Now we've got those couplers on, let's go ahead and install our bottom pipe first, because that's the one that's the toughest one to get at. Don't tighten any of these clamps up just yet, because we're going to have to move stuff around a little bit here. Now that we've got that one hooked up, we'll go ahead and get this one in. Okay, now that this one's set, we'll go ahead and put the other end on. Okay, now that we've got our clamps all tightened down, our final step is to go ahead and plug our air temperature sender back in. All right, now that we've got this thing all installed and hooked up, let's go ahead and see what it sounds like with this new air intake system on it. Okay, it sounds great. So that completes our installation of this air intake system by Injen.